On today's show, the Houston Rockets with their sweetest win of the season, a statement game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Fred VanVleet dropped a 38-piece. Dillon Brooks hit the game-winning shot off the most important sequence of the entire evening. Alperen Sengun flirted with a triple-double and so much more. It's all coming up on today's Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Revenge is a dish best served the Sunday after Thanksgiving to the Oklahoma City Thunder as the Houston Rockets get the 119-116 win and are now just a half game back of the 1 seed in the Western Conference. What is up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Thursdays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets, where the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform of your choosing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment while you're there. Tell me your favorite moment from this Rockets win against the Thunder, or just do a drive-by. Say go Rockets. It helps us out a ton. Be sure to also subscribe to our new daily Locked On Rockets newsletter. The QR code is right there in the bottom corner of your screen if you're watching on YouTube. And man, we've got so much stuff to get into on today's show. Steady Freddy with a huge 38 points in this victory. Dillon Brooks with the sequence of the game. Alperen Sengun flirting with the triple-double, the Tari twins off the bench, and so much more to get to. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you so much for being one of our amazing everydayers. Got to give a quick shout out here at the top to Brian, who I ran into at the Coca-Cola Classic Christmas event the other day, and a few other shout outs to Jacob, Caleb, and Andre, and there are a few other people that I, handed out stickers to at the game, whatnot. A lot of people. Appreciate every single one of you for tuning in and being being our everydayers, being part of the Hounds as well. Got the Hound sticker on the microphone, and look, you guys know what a big Rockets win means.
Release the Hounds.
Coaches are dogs. All the players are dogs. I'm a dog. That's just what it is.
Release the Hounds. Go over to the Locked On Thunder YouTube channel and let them know Locked On Rockets sent you by for some friendly chatter, if you will. Oh man! All right. Rockets get the 119-116 win against OKC, and this game, this was a statement win for the Houston Rockets. It absolutely was. The Rockets, Ime Udoka post-game, the players post-game, tried to downplay it a little bit. Ime talked about the fact that it wouldn't necessarily mean, it wasn't necessarily a statement game or a statement win, but just that it shows growth and that they're building on last year and that the mindset of who they want to be, it's embracing the mindset of who they want to be going forward. But this was absolutely a statement win. And that statement is the Houston Rockets have arrived. They're the real deal. This was like them exercising some of their earlier season demons. The only loss they've had this season so far by double-digit points was to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That was the only game where the Rockets looked absolutely outclassed. And yes, this is an OKC team that is still missing Chet Holmgren. Yes, they didn't have Alex Caruso. They are still an incredibly talented team. They're still one of the best teams in the association. SGA is an MVP caliber player. And this was still a very hard-fought win, a win that the Rockets deserved, and they showed, hey, we belong in the discussion, at least as far as this season is concerned. Maybe not the true contending team discussion, but they very clearly have been one of the best top 5, top 6 teams in the NBA so far this year, and it's time for every NBA fan out there, national media alike, to start taking this Houston Rockets team seriously. We had national media at a Rockets game for the first time this season, for the first time in years. Tim McMahon, who's basically become kind of a Dallas Mavericks beat writer, was in Houston, in town for this game. So shout out to Tim McMahon for coming on down to Houston and spend some time with the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, potentially soon to be number 1 seed. But man, this game, it was playoff intensity. From the jump, you could tell the players were locked in, the coaches were locked in, and this game was going to be used as kind of a barometer for how much the Rockets have truly grown since they faced the OKC Thunder earlier this season. And when I tell you the final 60 seconds of this game, 90 seconds of this game, whatever, were absolutely just insane. With just over a minute and a half left in the game, Alperen Sengun got tangled up with Cason Wallace, forcing a jump ball. And then out of the jump ball, Alperen Sengun was able to kick it out to, or tip it out to Jalen Green. Shot clock only had 5 seconds on it though, and Jalen was able to draw a second defender and dished it to Fred, who was all the way out in Galveston, and just bombed this Hail Mary 3 pointed up to the heavens after hitting it, and that put the Rockets up 113-110. Next play, Cason Wallace hit a big 3-pointer, a perfectly executed half-court possession from the Thunder. SGA collapsed the defense. Isaiah Hartenstein kicked it out, and Cason Wallace just bottom of the net 3-pointer. And it looked like, man, it just every possession you're scared, you're wondering, do the Rockets have enough? Is their offense going to convert? Will SGA take over this game? The Rockets, with under a minute to go, had a jump ball that was initiated by Dillon Brooks, who tangled up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander off of a missed Fred VanVleet 3-pointer. This was the sequence of the game. Dillon tangles up SGA. Basically, literally lifts him off the ground while he's forcing this jump ball. They go crashing into the Rockets bench. It causes a commotion. Dillon's smiling and laughing. SGA is smiling and laughing. These are Team Canada teammates. They're enjoying every minute of the competition against one another. And after the refs decided, okay, nothing's going on here, and trust me, we'll talk about the refs later in this one. They part ways. So Dillon Brooks forced the jump ball. He wins the tip on the jump ball. The Rockets set up their offense in the half court. Alperen Sengun gets his isolation against Isaiah Hartenstein. Makes his move, spins. Hartenstein bodies him beautifully. And Alp just lands flat on his butt. And the play looks like it's about to be blown up. Shot clock is trickling down. Dillon Brooks cuts in from the wing. Alp lobs the pass up to him. Dillon kind of uses Alp's legs as a screen, honestly, to get rid of SGA, to create some space. Dillon elevates. Dillon, literally Kobe Bryant, elevates and just drains the midi pull-up. And the ball is leaving his hands with 0.1 seconds left on the shot clock. You could not have written it any better than that. Dillon drains it. The refs go and review it. They say the bucket counts. Rockets go up 115-113. They never relinquish the lead. They come back down on the next possession. Tari Eason clamps up Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the final possession of the game. Shai was calling for a screen, and the screener was coming up with a Thompson, and SGA was like, nope, I don't want that. And tried to take Tari Eason off the dribble, tried to get to his pull-up mid-range game. Tari forced him into a difficult kind of like double clutch pump fake, and SGA missed it. Rockets get the rebound. Peculiarly, I don't know why Mark Daignault and the Thunder opted not to foul on that final possession immediately. They would have given themselves a little bit more time. Rockets were able to bleed out the clock, and then Fred VanVleet, ice in his veins, 4 straight clutch free throws to put this game away. Shout out to J-Dub, who hit a very tough contested 3 to make this game 117-116 and put all the pressure on the Rockets to make sure that they continued executing down the stretch. But OKC didn't have timeouts at that point. It was this Rockets team executed beautifully. Dillon Brooks, with the sequence of the game, showed up and hit the biggest shot of the night. Fred VanVleet with so many big-time threes down the stretch of this game, including that Hail Mary one. This was such and exciting game. This was the most intense game played at Toyota Center in years. You could feel the intensity throughout the building. And shout out to Rockets fans. Shout out to each and every one of you. If you were in the audience, you could feel the energy in the air. We talk about sometimes the crowds at Toyota Center, Rockets fans not really showing up for the team. They showed out in big numbers. And from the moment that Fred hit that Hail Mary 3 from damn near the half court line, every single person was on their feet in Toyota Center until the Rockets won this game. It was an exciting win. It was a big time win, a statement game. And there's still so much more that we have to talk about from this one. Want to talk about Fred's big night. Got to talk about Alperen Sengun, his flirting with a triple-double, his production in this game, how the Rockets were able to beat the Thunder, the statistic that jumps off the page that really stands out about how they were able to get this win against a very good OKC team. We're going to get to all of that and so much more here in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. How do you like to stay cozy during the winter months? For some, you can wrap up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate and watching one of your favorite holiday movies with family, and that's maybe your best way to spend the month of December. Well, therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort that never really goes away, even when the seasons ultimately change. Look, I'm somebody that's done therapy in the past. I found it to be an incredibly cathartic experience to have an unbiased, professional third party really walk me through some of the day-to-day problems that I was dealing with in my own life. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Let's dive in a little deeper into how the Rockets were able to get this win against the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we'll take a look at some of the big performances in this one. In particular, Fred VanVleet, his 38-piece, Alperen Sengun flirting with a triple-double. But before we tackle either of those guys, I want to highlight here what I think is the most important statistical category here, because the Rockets for the most part played OKC even, like, across the board. As far as let's just go down the line. We'll take a look at it. 3-point shooting. Rockets were 13 of 37. The Thunder were 13 of 39. So the Rockets shooting a little bit better percentage from beyond the arc. The Rockets were plus 11 at the free throw line, so they were 30 of 39 there. The Thunder were 19 of 25. Elsewhere, overall shooting percentage, the Thunder 44.7% from the floor. The Rockets just 41.3% there. Fred VanVleet outdueled Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 38 points to 32 points. Just, again, a lot of even performances along the board, but where the Rockets really excelled in this one, and where they prevented the Thunder from doing what they do best. The Thunder entered this game with a league best 19.2 turnovers forced per contest. The way the Thunder defend teams, right? They're fast, they're athletic, they swarm, they send two to the ball a lot, and despite the way the Thunder defend things, the Rockets only turned the ball over 10 times in this game, which is the fewest amount of turnovers that the Thunder have forced against any team so far this season. The Rockets just flat out took care of the basketball. They didn't cave to the Thunder ball pressure. They didn't turn the ball over an egregious number of times. And again, turning the ball over, especially when it's live ball turnovers, those are back-breaking opportunities, right? Those are moments where the Rockets did have a few of those live ball turnovers in this game, and they hurt, right? They allow the Thunder to get out in transition. They force mismatches. They get you mismatched in the half court, or they're able to just take advantage in transition to begin with. It's a lot that goes into it. So for the Rockets, and when you look at the two main guys that the offense runs through for the Rockets in Alperen Sengun and Fred VanVleet, they did an incredible job taking care of the basketball. Alp had 9 assists and only 1 turnover. That's absurd. A 9-to-1 assist-to-turnover ratio in this game. And then Fred VanVleet, not his usual wheeling and dealing self, because he was racking up the buckets in this one. So he had 38 points, only 3 assists, but he only had the 1 turnover. So An absolutely incredible performance by those two to not be coughing the ball up, right? To be careful with the basketball, to make great plays, to read the defense and react accordingly, generating high quality offense for this Houston Rockets team. That was the statistic. It really was. And then the Rockets took care of business elsewhere where they take care of business. They crushed the offensive glass. They had 15 offensive rebounds in this game. They won the rebounding battle 51-46, so they were +5 there. They were +10 in the second chance points department, 26-16. So they did what they do. They beat you up on the glass. They gave themselves those second and third chance opportunities, and OKC just couldn't deal with it. They just didn't have enough size outside of Isaiah Hartenstein, who has continued to be fantastic for the Thunder since getting back in the rotation after sitting out with injury to start this year. But, this is his fifth straight double-double for OKC. He had 13 rebounds in this game. He was phenomenal, but they just didn't have enough size outside of Isaiah Hartenstein at times to deal with the size and the length that the Rockets were able to ultimately put on the floor. Again, this is not a Thunder team that's at full health, and they are incredibly this is the deepest team in the NBA. I don't care what the Boston Celtics say. As much as I'd like to toot the Rockets' own horn, I don't care what Tillman Fertitta has to say. The Thunder have the best top-end talent as well as the deepest team in the entire association, in my eyes, at least. That's why they've been able to weather the storm. That's why they've been able to deal with so many injuries this season. Again, I don't super duper enjoy heaping a ton of praise on opposing teams in this podcast, but hat tip to the Thunder, man. Like this is a rivalry renewed. I don't even know if I can say renewed. It's just this Rockets Thunder rivalry goes back so far, and there's so many crazy little twists and turns that it takes, right? Like drag it all the way back to like the James Harden trade, then the beef between Russell Westbrook and Pat Bev and the injury there, the MVP duel, the 2017 playoff series. The list goes on and on and on. Paul George and his huge game winner, the Westbrook Chris Paul trade, the 2020 bubble series, Rockets top 4 pick in 2021, sweating bullets on that one. The Chet Holmgren versus Jabari Smith Jr. rivalry, the Sengun trade, and the Thunder kind of gifting the Rockets their next best player for this next generation of Rockets basketball. It's been absolutely unreal, the rivalry between these two teams. It is easily one of the best rivalries in the NBA, and it continues to be very head-scratching as to why the Rockets and Thunder did not draw a matchup during whatever the NBA was doing, right? The rivalry week or whatever. Rockets Thunder is right up there with Rockets Warriors as far as a rivalry. And this one's a little bit more evenly balanced than Rockets Warriors, seeing as how the Warriors have all the chips to speak of as far as rivalries go. Look, sorry, I'm getting completely off track here now. Look, I think right now, it's like over the last however many seasons going back to like the James Harden era or something, it's like it's now dead even, like nine games apiece between OKC and Houston as far as the head-to-head matchup goes. And look, the Rockets fan in me does not want to face this Thunder team in a playoff series whatsoever. The basketball fan in me is just like, just give me 7 games of this high-intensity rivalry, the matchups. It would be so much fun. But again, you know what? Let's just meet up with the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. That'd be great. That'd be a successful season for the Rockets. And even if the Rockets lost in that series, you could feel really good about this team going forward. All right, let's talk about Fred VanVleet, who did all of the heavy lifting for the Houston Rockets offense in this game. Was absolutely fantastic. Him and Alperen Sengun, the two of them were just an absolute force to be reckoned with in this game. Fred with 38 points on 10 of 19 shooting. He was 5 of 9 from long distance, 13 of 14 from downtown, or sorry, not from downtown, from the charity stripe. I'm getting all my analogies mixed up. He also had 2 rebounds, 3 assists, the 1 turnover we spoke of earlier. And look, Fred was nothing short of sensational in this game. He has found ways time and time again this season to put the Rockets offense on his back and carry this team. He hasn't fallen overly in love with the 3-point shot. He's gotten downhill, gotten to the rim. He's, been really crafty with his finishes, kind of, pump faking and faking out defenders around the basket to be able to get those opportunities at the cup rather than relying on just pure speed and athleticism. It's really night and day difference from how he was last year. I don't remember Fred ever really doing this much, if at all, last season. His ability to get downhill has really changed the offensive complexion of this Rockets team. And to be able to draw that many fouls in this game, look, the officiating sucked in this game. It really did. And I'm not going to sit here. If you've ever listened to this podcast historically, I hate complaining about the refs. It feels lame to even be talking about the officiating in a game where the Rockets won, but Ben Taylor had some very questionable calls and also no calls throughout the course of this game. Alperen Sengun was getting absolutely mobbed down low early in this game, and none of those calls were going his way. SGA and J-Dub at various points were throwing out all stiff arms and pushing off on drives and whatnot. None of that was getting called. And at the same time, SGA, there was literally a sequence in, I believe it was the third quarter, where there were not one, not two, not three, but 4 different fouls called within I believe a 10-second or 12-second game time stretch. The transition take foul, then 2 back-to-back fouls on Jalen Green, then another foul on Dillon Brooks, all coming off of SGA because you couldn't breathe on him, and it was a foul immediately. Put the Rockets in the bonus, and it was brutal to witness, right? It was kind of a ref show. And Ben Taylor is the very same referee that failed to call Giannis Antetokounmpo for being out of bounds a few games ago that literally cost the Rockets a win against the Milwaukee Bucks. Ben Taylor is the same ref that has history with Fred VanVleet, where Fred notoriously called him out back when he was with the Toronto Raptors. However, after the end of this game, Fred VanVleet, little tongue-in-cheek after the game, mentioned Ben Taylor and said that he reffed a very good game in this one, and he highlighted the fact that he got to the free throw line a bunch. And so, look, the Rockets did receive the benefit of the whistle, especially near the end. The free throws kind of racked up. And for Fred, to get that kind of production, to be able to get to the free throw line that many times, granted, 4 of those came at the end when OKC was just trying to extend the game. But for him to have 10 trips to the free throw line before that point in the game and to go 9 of 10 there, to have the overall offensive production that he did have in this game, the Rockets needed every last one of those points. And at various points when even before Fred hit that Hail Mary 3-pointer to go up 3 with just under 90 seconds left in the game, he had a 3-pointer just before that tied the game back up at 110. Or I apologize, 108 was it? Let me double check, make sure I got my math right here. Tied the game back up at 108 with just under 3 minutes left in the game. So, Fred was hitting big shot after big shot. Shout out to Steady Freddy, who held it down offensively in this game. Coming up, got to talk about Alperen Sengun, his impact on both sides of the basketball in this game. Jalen Green with yet another disappearing act game. 9 points, 2 of 6 shooting. The Terror Twins off the Rockets bench. The vibes after the game. Got to talk about some other stats that stand out from this one. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one spot. So if you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the exact same page where you actually place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. And while you're there, take a look at all the different odds available to you. Check out their parlay builder. Check out the different season awards winners, and check out the outright outright favorites to win this year's Super Bowl. Right now, the Lions plus 290, the Eagles behind them at plus 500. Also, the Bills sitting there right at plus 500, and then just not far off, the Chiefs slipping a little bit further, plus 550. And rounding out the top 5, you have the Ravens at plus 1,000. So for all those odds and so much more, head on over to FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Final thoughts from this Rockets Thunder game. And look, it feels a shame to have him tucked away here in the third segment. Just had so many different things to talk about first between Dillon Brooks with the most important sequence of the game, and Fred VanVleet's 38 piece, and then kind of went down a rabbit hole with the Rocket Thunder rivalry. But look, Alperen Sengun, despite a slow start in this game, finished strong. He finished with 20 points, 14 rebounds, 5 of them on the offensive glass. He had, again, 9 assists to only 1 turnover, only 7 of 17 shooting. And again, like, I'll say it right now, if Alp was finishing in and around the rim at the same rate he was last season, he'd be top 5 in the MVP conversation this year. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's been that good everywhere else except for finishing around the rim. Like, he's missing so many bunnies that he would normally hit. And some of that might just be, it might be chalked up to his increased effort and exertion on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe he's just a little bit out of it. Maybe he's rushing something, but I'm sure he'll get back to finishing those shots sooner rather than later. But, you know, look, at one point in this game, he was 4 of 12 shooting. But you know, despite the slow start, he finished in a big way. He continues to show up when it matters most at the end of games in this one. In the fourth quarter, Alp had 7 points on 3 of 5 shooting. So after that 4 of 12 start, including he had 5 rebounds and 3 dimes in that final quarter. A fantastic fourth quarter performance from him. And look, he absolutely conducted every little bit of the Rockets offense in this game. Fred had his 38 piece, but he wasn't really the orchestrator of the Rockets offense in this game. Alperen Sengun was generating wide open look after wide open look after wide open look. He handled the defensive pressure from the Thunder. He handled the double teams that were sent his way. He got rid of the basketball. He read the defense beautifully. He made great decisions. He took care of the ball, didn't turn it over. Everything you want out of him, the way that he was running the offense in this game was just chef's kiss, just flawless. I'm very curious to go back and look and see once the tracking data comes out, just how many potential assists Alp generated in this game, because I'd wager that he had anywhere from like 7 to 10 potential assists on top of the 9 that he already did have. It felt like he created so many wide open looks. Jabari in this game was 3 of 9 shooting. Look, Jabari had a very strong game. 15 points, 14 rebounds, had 3 block shots. Jabari's turning into the shot blocking presence that we always hoped he'd become next to Alperen Sengun. It's been fantastic to see. But even Jabari, as self-aware as he is, was post-game in the Rockets locker room as Alp was doing his post-game media interview. He shouted over the top of us, and he goes, and Alp's answered a question about the assist to Dillon Brooks for the game-winning shot, and Jabari over the top goes, Alp, I'm sorry. And Sengun changes mid-sentence. He goes, yeah, Jabari missed a lot of shots tonight. I missed a triple-double because of him, but he said it with a big smile on his face, and then Jabari walks past us and goes back to the showers, and you just hear him. He's going, I'm sorry. The vibes on this team are just fantastic. They're incredible. And look, some great self-awareness by Jabari. He knows he needs to be better from that, from beyond the arc. He has high expectations for himself. But also, I want to include here really quickly, but first off, the Rockets were like cheering their asses off in the locker room. They were so hype about this win against a very good Oklahoma City Thunder team. And I saw there were some Thunder fans on social media who were like clowning the Rockets, like saying, oh my God, this is their championship in December. Yada, we were really their champ. That's just a salty thing fans say when their team loses. If the Thunder went out and got a big win, like against the Celtics or against the Cavs or something, especially it being kind of a revenge win with how the Thunder kind of outclassed the Rockets earlier this season by their only double-digit loss of the year, like, yeah, you're going to celebrate. Like, the guys deserve to celebrate. So get out of here with all that. Look, and it wasn't just offensively for Alp. He was incredible offensively. He showed up big time in the fourth quarter, but defensively, man, that's even more impressive than what he's done this season on offense. He really is the anchor for this Rockets team. The fact that he's able to experience so much success this season in a defensive scheme where he's showing and recovering against elite ball handlers and elite players like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and J-Dub in this game, it speaks volumes about how much he's grown as a defensive presence for this Rockets team. And look, you can go all the way back to the Silas era, right? Those first 2 years of Alp's career, he was stuck playing drop coverage. He wasn't ever allowed to do anything different because Silas was a stubborn, inflexible coach. And now the Rockets have a top 5 coach in the NBA in Ime Udoka who has played to the strengths of his big man, who has realized that he's got a high IQ big who can move well on his feet, who can show, who can stunt, who can recover and get back to his man, who can guard in space at times on the perimeter. And he's really taking advantage of all those skills that Alpi has. And the Rockets are one of the best defenses in the NBA because of it. Coaching matters. Don't ever let anybody tell you any different. Sorry, I had to get that rant off my chest. Alpi's been incredible. He's a two-way force. When asked after the game about Alpi, which Alpi drove by the post-game. Fred VanVleet was the walk-off interview with courtside reporter Vanessa Richardson, and Alpi dropped in a little bit of a, we'll say, MFer post-game live on TV, but when asked about Alpi's performance in this one, this is what Fred had to say.
Man, he's a beast, man. We need him to play like that every night.
So that's the newest line added to the soundboard, but that's not the only line that we got out of this game, as Alperen Sengun talked about just how much fun it was winning these games.
Winning is fun. It's so much fun now. It's sweet winning, and we are happy, It's fun, man. We just going over there and having fun.
Look, talking about the defense in this one, I do want to give a lot of credit to the trio of Dillon Brooks, who always sets the tone for this team, and then the Tara twins coming off the bench. These guys collectively did about as good a job as you could hope to do guarding the elite players for the Thunder, in particular SGA, who, he had 32 points, 10 of 19 shooting, but he had to really work for every single one of the shots that he got in this game. They did a much better job on J-Dubs, only 7 of 21 shooting. And in that fourth quarter in particular, they locked in. I mean, SGA in the fourth quarter, just 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting. Jalen Williams did have 10 points. He got to the free throw line a few times, but he was only 3 of 8 shooting in that final frame. Look, the Rockets defense was just incredible. And Dillon Brooks, too, doing it in foul trouble, guarding SGA with 5 fouls is no small feat. So a lot of credit to Dillon Brooks for that one. And this was a milestone for the Rockets, where this is the first game, a milestone for both teams, actually. This was the first game all season where the Rockets won after trailing going into the fourth quarter. And this is the first game all season where the Thunder have lost after leading going into the fourth quarter. So credit to the guys at the top of the fourth quarter who were able to kind of claw back and make sure that the Rockets stayed in this game and gave themselves a chance to win. Again, the Rockets went up by as many as 11 there in the third quarter, and then ultimately started to let go of the rope a little bit. Thunder got themselves back into this game, but no team really ever led. Like there was no point where either team felt like they were running away with this game. I mean, it was a back and forth affair. It was a hard fought battle, and the Rockets managed to come out on top. It was a really, really impressive game. I want to highlight here one more guy. I mean, look, you got to talk about Jalen Green, and I'll make it quick here, but he can't keep having these performances. He just can't. He was outright detrimental to the Rockets in this game. He only had 9 points, only 2 of 6 shooting. He had an early corner three-pointer. He had one really tough drive to the rim that led to an and-one opportunity where he got to the free throw line. He had a few other drives where he got downhill and drew some free throws and whatnot, but just an awfully quiet performance for him. 9 points, again, 2 of 6 shooting, 3 assists. The 4 turnovers were brutal, though. If you're not going to be able to contribute offensively, the least you can do is just take care of the basketball. But some of the, especially to start the third quarter, right, there was that stretch where he had was it back-to-back or 3 possessions, not quite in a row, but all there in the third quarter where he drove and, it was those live ball turnovers, right? Drove and, got the ball knocked out of his hands or lost it on the way up or, poke checked. And, those are just brutal, moments in games like this, in high stakes games where you can afford, the margin for error is so razor thin to be able to come away with these wins. And, I'll give him credit. He's still out there. He's still defending, and he's still, when he's allowed to defend, right? The touch fouls on SGA were kind of ridiculous, but it's just he's got to find ways to show up, because at the end of the day, the Rockets are right now better with either one of Amen Thompson or Tari Eason in that 5th and final spot amongst the Rockets starters. And they have the flexibility. They can slide Dillon Brooks down to the 2 and plug Tari Eason in. They can plug Amen Thompson in. They've got lineup versatility up and down the roster in this game that they can decide to go to if they want. Again, they can put Jabari Smith Jr. at the 5. They've got so many different ways that they can play with their true top 7 of players, because that's really what the Rockets have, right? Like, they're not playing Steven Adams was barely in the game, and Reed Sheppard played 10 minutes, but realistically, like, this Rockets team is playing like a 7-man lineup most nights. And of those 7 guys, credit to Ime for sticking with him so far, but Jalen Green's got to find a way to be more consistent and more impactful on the offensive side of the ball. And, you can give credit to him for not forcing the issue. Fred VanVleet had it going. So, he let Fred cook or whatever, but Fred wouldn't need to drop 38 points if Jalen could drop 20 and Fred could drop 20, right? Like, if Jalen Green could show up, then Fred wouldn't have to do all this heavy lifting. And it's a miracle that Fred did it. It's a miracle that Fred was able to play the way that he was in this game. But if Fred doesn't drop a 38 piece, if Fred has more of a standard Fred performance and puts, 15, 20 on the board, then we might be talking about a Rockets blowout. If Jalen Green had one of his, 4 of 15, whatever offensive performances that he's been racking up over this last month or so, I need to see him turn it around. I hope he turns it around. I want him to turn it around. But this is just another quiet, kind of uninspiring performance from Jalen Green, unfortunately. But outside of that, an incredible win for this Houston Rockets team, now just a half game back of the 1 seed in the Western Conference. I want your thoughts from this Rockets game. I want to know what stood out to you. I want to know your favorite moments. I want to know the most important moments in this game. Let me know all your thoughts in the YouTube comments. Again, the best way you can help us grow our show is to listen every single day on a podcast platform you're choosing. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Drop us a comment while you're there. Subscribe to the daily Locked on Rockets newsletter. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked on Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.